I want to introduce to you our moderator, our fabulous moderator, Mike Zamora.
Thank you.
When I asked him to do this, he did not hesitate. That's the kind of neighbor he is. Mike is a fourth-generation Valley resident. He's an ASU graduate. He's a Tempe developer. He's a businessman, and most importantly, for our purposes, he is a neighborhood resident. He lives in Broadmoor. And with no further ado, I'm going to invite Mike to take over and moderate this forum.
Oh, wait, those are my notes. You're stealing my notes. Wait a minute. I got 2 pages of notes. Okay.
Sorry about that, Mike.
There you go.
Margaret, how are you doing?
We can appreciate having our notes, right? That's very important. Okay. We're good on audio? Okay, good. So welcome, everybody. And obviously, a good afternoon. We do have more seats in front, so if you're standing, you're going to be standing for 90 minutes. We do have seats. I'd encourage that for there. 3 here, 1 here, couple back over there on that. So just welcome if you can. So speaking of welcoming, just want to welcome everybody to the Neighborhood City Council Candidate Forum on that one. We appreciate you taking the time to attend here. And what we're hoping is that we're going to provide you with some very good information for that. As mentioned, my name is Mike Zamora on that. This is the 3rd forum for the City Council candidates. The first forum was held in December, and that was focused primarily on business topics. The second forum was held in early January, and that was focused primarily on citywide topics. And both of those are going to be on the Tempe Channel 11 video if you want to go ahead and watch that one. This particular candidate forum is going to be focused on neighborhood issues. One reason you're all here for that. As Neil was saying, it was developed by the neighborhood presidents to ensure that at a neighborhood level, your concerns, you have a voice in this one. So the goal for this afternoon is to give all of our candidates up here, all 7 of them, opportunity to talk further, to explain their position on various topics so that you, the voters, can make the best possible choice on Election Day, which is going to, of course, be primary Election Day is going to be on March 10th. And if you want more information on the details, just go to tempe.gov for that. So if I can, today's forum is going to be grounded in fairness, respect, and transparency. It's going to run 90 minutes, as mentioned. It'll be structured as follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening remarks. All candidates will have the same questions and will have 90 seconds to respond. The final 20 minutes of the forum will be audience-submitted questions. Audience members may submit a question back to Jana. Jana, raise your hand back there. There she is. You can go ahead and submit a question. The request is that you submit those by 2:15. She's going to look through them, decide, what are the kind of the priority for the questions based upon what we're asking, and then submit them to me, and that they'll ask them of the candidates for that. We're also going to, like similar candidate forums, rotate the questions from the candidates, ensuring fairness. We do have a timekeeper in the front row. She's going to provide a 10-second warning on that one. Go ahead and raise your hand. There it is, the 10-second one. Thank you. And so as moderator, I'm going to do my best to also enforce that time limit so we are fair and on schedule. And from what I've seen of the 2 previous forums, the candidates are very good about that one. They respect their time and the other person's time for that. The questions this afternoon, as Neil mentioned, were compiled by the Tempe neighborhood groups. Each neighborhood president solicited questions from their residents, and then the presidents themselves, they selected from the pool of questions what would be asked for that. The neighborhoods hosted, just so your information, is going to be Hudson Manor, Santo Tomas, known as Shalimar, Alameda Meadows, Hugh Acres, Rural Geneva, Meyer Park, Brentwood Cavalier, New Vista, also known as Mach 8, and Maple Ash. So for those neighborhood presidents, thank you for helping and putting this together. The forum, this itself, is also going to be video recorded. We have it going over there so that you and your neighbors can either watch or re-watch on that one. And it's going to be available on the neighborhood Facebook pages for that. We do ask that you be respectful of the candidates and of their responsive. They've chosen to run for public office. We appreciate very much your willingness to be here, to serve the Tempe community. And for the sake of time, please refrain from applause or comments during the forum. And so with that, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start, if you don't mind, Ms. Adams, with your opening comments.
Oh, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see so many friendly faces here, and I just wanted to give a little background. I've worked for the city for 30 years as an employee. Oh, okay, we don't have mics, huh? Okay, I'll try. I had COVID 4 years ago, and it paralyzed one of my vocal cords. So anyway, I'll speak as loud as I can. I'm Jennifer Adams. I worked for the city for 30 years as an employee. I was in internal services, public works, and human resource or human services, which was social services at the time. And I retired from the city, and I decided to run for office. And I ran for office, and I won. And I'm very excited to be rerunning again, and appreciate your support. And I've annexed the county island. I've led the effort for Clark Park Pool, and a lot of and paving, working on pavement. So that's me in a nutshell.
Please.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for being here today. I know, especially this weekend, here's a plug, Tempe Blooms is happening also. Thank you for being here and taking the time to get to know us a little bit better as you make your decisions. My name's Arlene Chin. I'm a more than 50-year resident of Tempe. I grew up here. I was shaped by Tempe. I'm a resident, I've been a student, I've been a volunteer, and I've held leadership roles in many of our boards, commissions, and nonprofits in the city. So I have leadership experience within our community and understand our culture. Because Tempe and the people in Tempe have given me so much, it was time for me to run and help, and this is the highest level of community service for me. Thank you.
Joe.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Joe Forte, and I moved to Tempe 20 years ago after a 4-year enlistment to go to Arizona State University. Subsequently, I graduated with a degree in business and communications. I started a business here, and I bought a home. And about 5 years ago, I was walking my dog in the neighborhood park, and I have no idea what spurred it, but I started picking up trash in the park. And it became a habit. I just picked up a little trash, and the park was looking pretty good. That small act led me to found a nonprofit called Keep Tempe Beautiful. Over the past 5 years, our organization has removed over 22,000 pounds of trash from parks and streets and planted close to 200 trees. And so that was the catalyst that got me involved in the community. When I was looking to run for city council and I did some research, I realized there was no business owner that sits on the city council. And as someone who's a business owner myself, I thought it was a view that should be had. Thank you guys so much.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I am Councilmember Burdetta Hodge. I am pleasure for you guys to spend your evening with me. I'm going to do the same thing as Councilmember Chen. We do have our Unity Walk today at Tempe Town Lake, so please come by if you have the time to go and do the Unity Walk. I am also a proud governing board member for Tempe Union High School District. I've been on for 10 years. I'm duly elected. The reason why I decided to run is because I had 2 sons I raised here in the city of Tempe, and I realized how important the education world is to our neighborhoods, to our city. And having a voice on that council that understands both worlds is very important, because we also work with the workforce. We're going to be the next generation of the workforce. We also make sure that our city is thriving. So reason why I am continuing on my life is because I want to continue to work between the education world and the city of Tempe. Thank you.
Bobby, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today and taking some time to learn about the candidates who are running for City Council. My name is Bobby Nichols. I am an Assistant Attorney General with the state of Arizona. I represent the Department of Child Safety and Economic Security's Adult Protective Services section in cases that involve the abuse, neglect, and exploitation of children and vulnerable adults. I have been a legislative advocate developing laws in multiple states for the last 5 years. I've worked in housing justice. I've worked in protecting survivors of domestic violence, and I'm really excited to bring that experience to the city of Tempe. I'm running to make this city more affordable for everyone, and I'm going to do that by increasing our investment in public services relating to housing, nutrition, transportation, and childcare. These are the things that we need to improve Tempe for young families so that we can get our enrollment numbers up and we can have our schools staying open. As some of you may know, the Kyrene School District recently had to close several schools as a result of low enrollment, and that is a result of us having an expensive city. Our housing prices are 40% higher than the national average, transportation is 10% higher, and groceries are 5% higher. You keep giving me the 10%. Sorry. And we have public services that we can use to make that better, and I'd like to put them in place.
Great. Brooke, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you to our host for putting this together. I love being in this room. I volunteer here once a month serving our seniors, and it is one of my favorite times of the month. I'm Brooke St. George, and I am running for Tempe City Council because this city raised me, and I am raising my own son here. I am a PTO mom, a community volunteer. I've run local campaigns, and I worked inside City Hall. I have seen firsthand how much Tempe needs new, steady, accountable leadership. The well-known and well-documented pattern of behavior unbecoming a city council member is just one example of a wider problem happening inside of Tempe. Cronyism, cover-ups, secret meetings, actions against mutual aid groups, even a woman's life upended because of a meme. That is not who we should be. I am running because Tempe deserves better. Tax dollars should serve residents, not insiders, and transparency and accountability must come first. I'll bring that same spirit of community first, people-focused leadership to this city council.
Great. Elvis, go ahead.
Hi, neighbors. My name is Elvis Tasca. I've lived here my entire life, 38 years. My parents moved here in the 80s to work at the university, where my mom retired as the director of the Disability Resources for Students, and my dad was a teacher of the blind. I live on the same street I grew up on, off of Beck and University. My parents live right next door to me. My brother and his wife now live on our same block. I'm concerned about the world. I'm concerned about our nation. But on the city level is where I believe I actually have some power to do something. I want to be clear. I am a teacher, and I am gravely concerned about fairness and transparency within our city council, and that's why I'm here.
Great. Thank you very much. So let's go on to our first question then. The first question is, many neighborhood residents feel their concerns about developments are not being heard by our city council. If elected, how will you engage with neighborhoods on development projects, and when would that engagement occur? If we can, let's start with you, Arlene.
Great, thank you. The question is, how will I engage? I will continue to engage. I do engage now. I see a couple of neighborhood leaders that I have had numerous meetings with, both individuals and boards. Example is the Shalimar Board. I will continue to do that. I think it's important. What I shared in my introduction about being a product of Tempe, one thing that I've learned about all of us Tempeans is we get involved. We have opinions, and we like to share them. And I think it's important to listen to one another and incorporate that when we're building our communities together.
Great. Thank you. Joe?
Well, I believe the time for neighborhoods to talk about development that's coming in their community is early and often. And so I would like to, really at the offset, talk with neighborhoods to what they'd like to see around their neighborhoods so that we can present to the folks that develop the services and the buildings that we know around us. And so I think that it wasn't the greatest thing with the coyote. Is this the coyote's question? No, not the coyote's question. Okay. But yeah, I would really want to make sure that there is constant dialogue between the neighbors and developers and the city council members being a bridge to make sure that your voice is heard and that the developers know what's tolerated in their neighborhoods. Thank you.
Joe. Bernadette?
Burdetta.
Burdette, my apologies.
Thank you. Yes, as I would say, as a city council, we do communicate within our neighborhoods. We actually, regardless of, sometimes the conversation is not always the best. Sometimes it could be better, but we do. We are a city that actually come to our neighborhoods. We just actually went to a neighborhood north of here, and we had 20 people, 25 people that we sat down, all 6 of us, with 6 council members sitting there listening to the results of the neighborhood. You can't get that in any other city or any other town, that you can actually see your council members and talk to them, regardless if you disagree with us or you don't, you agree with us. You know that you can find us at any time. We're approachable. I would also include that we talk to our schools. We talk to our neighborhood schools. There is no neighborhood that usually don't have a school right by it. We make sure that when we include everything, we include our neighbors, we include our schools, we include our businesses. Those are things that we do. We have a great working relationship within that. Neighborhood, people in our neighborhood who run our neighborhoods, yes, they do have times that they see that, okay, we just don't agree on that. We have come back and forth. Shalimar is a great example. Shalimar is an example of how we have to work together. And they come to us, and we have a great working relationship. And I want to continue on with our working relationship. Regardless if we agree or disagree, I still want to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby?
So, development has become a significant issue in Tempe, and I want to say first that I will always protect Tempe's right to public comment. There are other cities around Maricopa County who are taking away that right in City Council, and I would make sure that we do not do that in the city of Tempe. I would also like to see us democratize the process around upzoning in residential areas, specifically upzoning beyond what the general plan allows. It goes without saying that we as council members should be coming forward to communicate with the community, and I believe that that does happen. But what we need to do as the representatives of the community is hold accountable the developers who are trying to make as much money as they possibly can from our neighborhoods. And I think that requires us to formalize and democratize our neighborhood associations, integrate them into decision-making processes within the community, and make sure that they have a voice when it comes to approving or denying or securing community benefits from these developers and their proposed developments. So I would make sure that we are working to improve that process, that we are working to keep people involved from the very beginning. And in order to keep people involved from the very beginning, we need to make sure that the developers know that they need to get community support for their projects before going forward. In the Shalimar neighborhood, the developer has not been willing to engage in good faith. And this is holding up a process that should be straightforward, where the community and the developer and the owner come together and make a decision that is mutually beneficial for everyone. I would like to put a process in place that makes that possible.
Thank you, Bobby. Brooke?
Thank you. Across your neighborhoods, I hear your concerns around development. I hear it at the doors, and your frustration did not come out of nowhere. When our neighbors only learn about a project after it seems like it's already been shaped behind closed doors, of course we're feeling ignored. And that's not a misunderstanding, that is a process problem. So if I'm elected, that engagement won't happen at the tail end when a project is already baked, so to speak, but it will happen before a developer files a formal submittal, when residents can still influence things like height, traffic, parking, shade, and community benefits. Early engagement in this process is not radical, it's responsible, and it leads to better projects and stronger trust in our local government. I'll push for required early neighborhood meetings, and I'll work with staff to create clear, plain language summaries so that residents don't have to dig through 300-page proposals just to understand what's being proposed in their neighborhoods. Transparency should not be a scavenger hunt. I'll show up, not just for ribbon cuttings, but for the hard conversations in Brentwood Cavalier and Shalimar and Hughes Acres and every neighborhood that is feeling unheard. I'll meet with neighborhood chairs, attend association meetings, and hold office hours out in the community, not just at City Hall. Tempe's neighborhoods deserve a council member who listens clearly, communicates honestly, and treats residents as partners in shaping development, not as obstacles to be overcome.
Brooke, thank you. Elvis?
Who in here has been affected by the new middle housing ordinance? Just one, maybe two? Over the past 30 years, the number of housing units in Tempe has grown exponentially. Cranes have been constant, towers keep rising, and yet rents and home prices have only gone up, not down. So it's fair to ask, if supply alone were the solution, why aren't people in Tempe feeling the relief? I believe I may be the only candidate up here that truly believes that we may need to re-look at the way that we rezone areas for higher density. I also am one person who middle housing ordinance has come to. My block and my neighbors in my association, which hadn't been established for almost 10 years, we hadn't been active, were an easy target for the city. Now things roll down the pipeline from the state. And as the state will no longer allow us to charge taxes on our short-term rentals in the city, I wonder if the strategy surrounding building everywhere and as high as possible is really the answer.
Elvis, thank you. Jennifer?
Yeah, when I was first elected 7 years ago, one of my number one priorities was to get out into the community and get the feedback before developments were drawn up. And that's what we've done. We've been doing this for 7 years. It's not a new thing. Shalimar is a perfect example. We got out and talked to them. The developers did some community meetings with them, and we heard what you want. That's a win. The general plan 2050 also points out where all the buildings can go. And Shalimar is not zoned for high density housing. You guys, you have something to comment? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you did. No, there's not gonna be any high rises where they don't belong. The general plan, it was voted on and it passed, and that is how we're doing it. We're following the general plan. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that one. Our next question. The city of Tempe has been withdrawing financial support for residential flood irrigation. If elected, would you increase or decrease the subsidies for residential flood irrigation? Let's go ahead and let's start with you, Joe.
Well, I appreciate that question, and actually it's good to learn a little bit more about flood irrigation, because we had an early panel in late last year, and they were like, what would you do with flood irrigation? And I'm like, if you want flood irrigation, you got flood irrigation. And that's not what they were talking about. But anyways, I would certainly increase the subsidies for flood irrigation, because I think it's counterproductive to take them away. If the water bills of residents are higher, they're going to take out the trees and all the lush greenery that makes this area of Tempe so desirable. And so I believe that if we want to continue with having the environment of a lush green grass, subsidies is the way to go, because I've talked to residents who, their water bills are $400 a month. It's ridiculous. And so that is an area that I think deserves the city spending to make that outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Burdette?
Yeah, I agree. I think that we do. We can increase it. I think that we should work together. There is grants and subsidized we can do to help with that scenario. As even with myself as a council member, I know about it, but I had to go back and actually research it myself, because there's a lot that I didn't even know about it, because it's not something that comes up every day in our council. So it took me a little bit to sit down with my water department and literally go through it piece by piece, because we only get it when we hear it at the time we hear it. So even as a council member, you can always learn. And as I said, I would definitely work with our neighborhoods to make sure that we increase it and make sure that the part of it that's hitting the customers, the constituents, doesn't affect them the way it is. I don't want people's water bills to be $400 or $500 and you can't afford it. So I want to work within their neighborhoods to make sure that's an issue that we work with.
Burdette, thank you. Bobby?
So flood irrigation can be an effective way for for certain neighborhoods to maintain their greenery, but we do need to be thoughtful about our water usage living in the desert and facing historic droughts. So where neighborhoods are able to supply the water because they have wells or water tables that are able to be replenished by this flood irrigation, I encourage those subsidies, and I would continue to increase them. Where that's not the case, I would look for subsidies to try and transition away from those processes so that we can save and be responsible with our water. In either case, we should be attempting to subsidize the utilities of our residents to make the city more affordable for everyone, and it's going to depend on what the neighborhood is able to contribute to their water intake based on the historic placement of wells and the historic placement of water tables, which is, as everybody has alluded to already, a complex topic that we've all had to research since it was brought up earlier. But I'm glad to be looking into this now, and since I've been looking into it, it really does appear that the best way to approach this is by finding out how we can best support our residents in terms of lowering their cost of living by reducing their bills and still being responsible with our water, which will be different from property to property to property.
Bobby, thank you. Brooke?
I want to start by saying I understand why so many of you are upset about the recent irrigation rate changes. Flood irrigation is not just a utility service. For many of your neighborhoods, it's part of your identity. It's the old growth trees, it's the shade, it's the shared sense of community on watering days. When rates go up without a clear explanation, it feels like something you've protected for decades is at risk, and that frustration is real and it's valid. I also know that many of you care deeply about sustainability and equity. You support conservation and climate-forward policies, and you're still being told that something that you love, that you have protected for decades, is now too expensive. And we have to be honest. Tempe is dealing with the consequences of decades of underfunding basic public works infrastructure. Much of this irrigation system is mid-century or older. Because past councils didn't invest as much when upgrades were cheaper, we are now facing higher repair costs, emergency fixes, and rising maintenance needs, and those costs are landing on today's residents as a result. So when we talk about subsidies, I'm looking at the reality of a hotter, drier future and a system aging faster than we've been maintaining it. I will fight to stabilize the system that we have so that you're not dealing with failing pipes or surprise assessments. And I will insist on transparency, so no more rate changes without clear, honest explanations. And I think that was my 10 seconds, so I will just stop there. Thanks.
Thank you, Brooke. Elvis?
I think that this is a real warning light on the dash for me, a barometer indicator of the way things have been trending in Tempe in general. We are faced with a crisis because we didn't upkeep the things, our nice things, or we didn't have a good plan for the future, and then it sneaks up on us, and then it faces people who are already stretched thin. That's concerning for me. I think transparency surrounding this didn't need to wait until the 11th hour. And I do think that the city should have some subsidies to be able to support people when utility bills exponentially increase overnight.
Thank you, Elvis. Jennifer?
Yes, just to be clear, we have had a 40-year water savings plan. This is not new. We've had it for many, many years. As long as I've worked at the city, we've had this plan, and it's very effective. We have a 100-year water supply as a result of our planning early on. So that's really important to be clear about. The city of Tempe just didn't discover that we didn't have a water plan. We've had it for 40 years. And as a result, we have the 100-year supply. Also, when I became aware of the rate increases, a neighbor reached out to me and said, "Can you help?" The first thing I did is I went to the city manager and I said, "Hey, that's too fast of increases. Can we slow that down?" And we did. We slowed it down. So my whole premise is to really slow down that water increases and make them as small as possible. I want you to have green grass and trees. It keeps our heat island cooler. It really works. And I want you to be able to maintain that neighborhood. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you. Arlene?
Thank you. Historical moment. As a kid growing up in Tempe, flood irrigation day for us was a day of recreation where you skimboarded and played with yards. And maybe this is why I do know about flood irrigation. Flood irrigation rights come with the property. That's a fact that, and it formed long before Tempe became a city. So it's a right that transfers with the property. And it should remain as an option for those with those rights. The verb that I'll use is not withdrawing, but balancing to explain what's been happening. What's been happening is for those of us, and I'm one of them, that does not have a property with flood irrigation rights, we've been subsidizing the flood irrigation. So it's been a balancing act of the costs. And as many of you know, the water resources have been declining, and the costs of water has been increasing. So it's a balancing of those costs. I think the balancing should be a gradual one, but the rights, those with flood irrigation rights, should remain.
Great. Thank you, Arlene, and thank you, everybody, for answering that question. The next one is going to be a yes or no response. And just in case, I'll repeat that one, a yes or no response.
No more.
Do you support zoning changes to the former Shalimar Golf Course to allow high-density housing? And
No.
what we'll do is we'll start with Burdette.
Already answered.
I missed that.
No.
No. Okay, thank you. Bobby?
No.
Okay. Brooke?
No?
Okay. Elvis?
No.
Okay. Jennifer?
Nope.
Okay. Arlene?
No.
Okay. And Joe?
No.
Wow. Okay. Across the board. All right. We have some consensus there. Cool.
Shalimar.
Okay. All right. So then we go on to the next one. The Coyotes development and related election was a divisive and polarizing issue in our neighborhoods, which has reverberated to the present time. What lessons, if any, should be learned from that experience? And let's start with you, Bobby.
Developments require community assent to be successful, and we should not be supporting projects that provide tax breaks to billionaires. We need to be bringing in meaningful benefits to the city through any developments that we do approve, and those benefits need to be clear and laid forward so that all the voters know why we are choosing to do something. We can't be using secret meetings or behind-the-table dealings to make these decisions. We need to make sure that when the city deserves and has the right to make their voices heard on a development project, they receive the opportunity to do so. I also believe that it has shown the people of Tempe have a strong capacity to influence change when they speak together, and we should continue to empower the people of Tempe to stand up and make their voices heard on these important issues, which is again why I support the democratization of our development process to the extent that we can legally do so.
Bobby, thank you. Brooke?
We need to acknowledge something that often gets overlooked regarding this subject. The Coyotes project wasn't just a policy debate, it was an emotional experience for our entire community. People invested time, energy, and hope into it on both sides, and when it ended the way it did, all of that didn't just disappear. It left our neighbors feeling unheard, friendships strained, and trust in our city shaken. And if we don't name that honestly, we are not going to be able to move forward from it. The biggest lesson is that Tempe cannot afford processes that leave our residents feeling blindsided or dismissed. Whether someone supported the project or opposed it, the common thread that I hear is that people didn't feel like they had a real voice early enough. By the time the public was brought in, many felt that the outcome had already been decided, and that erodes trust no matter how good a proposal looks on paper. We need a process that brings people in before positions harden and before misinformation fills the gaps. The Coyotes vote reminds us that trust is fragile. It doesn't come back with a press release. It comes back through consistent transparency, early engagement, and a willingness to listen even when it's uncomfortable. If I'm elected, that is the approach I plan to bring to any sort of divisive situation like that. Not to relitigate the past, but to make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes. Tempe deserves a process where our people feel respected, informed, and genuinely included from the beginning. That's how we heal, and that's how we move forward together.
Brooke, thank you. Elvis?
Can you repeat the question one more time? I want to make sure I
No,
answer
fair,
it completely.
fair. The Coyotes development and related election was a divisive and polarizing issue in our neighborhoods, which has reverberated to the present time. What lessons, if any, should be learned from that experience?
Yeah, lessons. Hard lessons. Hard lessons about the amount of money that's been invested in Tempe that hasn't come from here to extract dividends from our residents, our teachers, our workers, our artists, over a period of time that none of us will really be able to take advantage of the benefits of it. I think that the lessons here are that, well, for me, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. I think that that's where I'm at.
Okay. Elvis, thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you for the question. The Coyotes deal was, I think, sped up too much. I think it should have been a slower process. And as a result, I insisted on it going to the voters, and that's called democracy. The voters spoke, and I'm glad we had a vote on it, and that was the answer. So thanks for all your votes.
Jennifer, thank you. Arlene?
Thank you. I agree with the question, the premise of the question. It was that episode of in Tempe was excessively divisive and polarizing, and unnecessarily so. In a community that organically comes together more than divides. The lesson, I think, for all of us, however you felt about it, is better communication is important for our community. And by that, I don't mean just what you have to say, but what are you hearing, and are you listening to your neighbors? Are you listening to everyone else surrounding the issue? That's the lesson for me.
Arlene, thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I think the Coyotes project really highlighted the need for better communication amongst stakeholders to prevent division. And I think what the lessons to learn is better communication, prioritizing dialogue with residents from the start, and then also making sure that developments truly benefit the community. What I find interesting is that we haven't heard about that parcel of land since that Coyotes debate. And there's a 40-acre parcel right there. And what I would propose is that we attract a corporate job supplier to fill that spot, because there are some costs that need to go into it. And I just talked to an individual in the audience and said that it's entirely too costly to buy a house here. And so I'm looking for ways to bring the jobs of the future here so that folks that just graduate can stay in Tempe. And I think that that parcel would be perfect for a large job creator. Specifically, I'd like to see a semiconductor supplier, being that TSMC is in North Phoenix and Intel is in Chandler, and that would make our smart engineer students the abilities to stay and grow deep roots in Tempe like all of us have. Thank you.
Joe, thank you. Burdette?
Yes, I'll be honest, I came in with the Coyotes, I came in the middle of it. I was like, when I came on council, it had started already. It was like smack dab in the middle of what was going on with the Coyotes. I think the fact that, yeah, we can say it was very divisive. It tore people's friendships, people's lives apart. But I'll say one thing about it. It also showed that Tempe can unify when they want to, for what purpose or what side of the aisle they were on it. Because I saw both sides. I saw people who were so against it and they came to all our meetings. I also saw people who were so supportive of it. And there's people who, we knock on doors and they're still yelling at us, why didn't you guys keep the Coyotes? You took our hockey team away from us. And then I have people who are saying, I can't believe you took it to the ballot. I can't believe you actually even thought of it. But I think that democracy ended because I think that it came to the fact that it came to the voters. That's the most important thing that could have happened. You guys spoke, we listened, we didn't go down and we didn't vote on it. We let it go on the ballot, and I think that's the most important thing that we could have done. I do agree, maybe we could have did a little bit more when it comes around communications, but I'll just say this, I think democracy ended when it went to the ballot. So I think that we can, as a city, we can move from that and keep going in the direction that we can learn something from it.
Burdette, thank you. Our next question. Emerging technologies like autonomous vehicles, data centers, and e-bikes currently operate in our neighborhoods and in Arizona. Should the city code be updated to regulate their impact on neighborhoods? And if so, how would you do that? And let's start with you, Brooke.
Sure. Short answer, yes. Emerging technologies are already shaping Tempe. We've got autonomous vehicles on our streets and bikes and e-scooters on our sidewalks and AI data centers drawing on our power and water systems. But these are not hypothetical anymore. They are here. And the real question is whether our city code is keeping up. And right now, it is not. We saw that clearly with the recently proposed Waymo charging station near Terrace and Broadway, right in the middle of the Hughes Acres neighborhood. That outcry was not anti-technology. It was about being blindsided by a commercial scale facility next to homes and a school with no early engagement and no clear explanation of traffic noise or safety impacts to that neighborhood. Residents were right to be upset. It's a perfect example of why Tempe needs to modernize its code, not to stop innovation, but to make sure that it works for our neighborhoods, not against them. For autonomous vehicles, we need clear rules around testing zones, speed limits, data sharing, and neighborhood safety. People shouldn't wake up to AVs cutting through their streets or industrial charging hubs next door. And for e-bikes and scooters, we need consistent standards for parking, speed, and sidewalk safety. These are great mobility tools, but they cannot block ADA ramps or create hazards for seniors, kids, or people with disabilities. And for AI data centers, we need transparency about energy use, water consumption, and noise, along with siting rules that keep heavy infrastructure away from our neighborhoods and aligned with our sustainability goals.
Thank you, Brooke. Elvis?
Yep, we'll definitely need to create a strategy. And I'm actually going to leave it at that because I want to use my time to follow up on that last question. It's funny how democracy, and the voters being able to choose didn't happen for the referendum that Bobby wrote about the special events ordinances and criminalizing homelessness. I would have liked to see how the city of Tempe would have voted on that as a general population. I think that moving forward, we'll see the citizens of Tempe uniting to make sure that their voices are heard on city council. I got into this contest because it was 7-0 and there were only 4 people running in this contest, and that wouldn't fly for me, and I had to participate in the process, and that's why I'm up here.
Okay. Thank you, Elvis. Jennifer?
Yes, we need to update the city code and regulate the impact of emerging technologies and autonomous vehicles, AI, data centers, and e-bikes. And in fact, Burdette, Councilmember Hodge, and myself have started a subcommittee around scooters and coming up with some guidelines for scooters. So we just had our first meeting, which was well attended. We'll have another one in February, and we're working this out because the scooter situation is out of control. 2 days after we had that meeting, a scooter hit a bicyclist, flew off the scooter, hit his head on a pole, and died. Okay, we have had a lot of deaths, and people are not talking about that, but it's the truth. So we have got to get a handle on this scooter situation, and we are committed to doing that. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you. Arlene?
Thank you. Short answer is yes, because technology is advancing very, very quickly. And if you've ever watched, if you've been to a recent city council meeting, any number of them, you're going to see an item that I always pay attention to, and they're called code text amendments. And those are updates. I think all of our codes and ordinances should be updated as needed, especially as technology is emerging and changing so quickly. We need to adapt as a city to how we use city, whether it's the streets, the parks, the facilities, however all of our facilities. So short answer is yes.
Arlene, thank you. Joe?
Yeah, short answer, definitely yes. And the way that I would approach it in the future with new technology is to create working groups that include the residents, the city, and the stakeholders to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And just to piggyback off Brooke, with the Waymo charging station, I sit on the Development Review Commission, so that is an issue that came into our body. And I was one of two that voted against it. And it was unfortunate I wasn't able to influence my colleagues in opposition of that. It did pass. But one of the main things for the Development Review Commission is that it doesn't increase traffic. And I feel like the Waymo station, that's all it would do, is increase traffic, right? So it was boggled my mind, but for all the folks that are concerned about that, I feel like our city council will not let that fly. And that's my answer.
Great. Joe, thank you. Burdetta?
Yes, I do believe we should. I think that technology is just like everything else in the world. It goes like this, and we're always trying to catch up to it. One thing I will say we just changed our attorney about a year ago. And the first thing he said is, I'm going to go through all of your codes. I'm going to go through a lot of your codes that hasn't been updated in years. So it looks like we're always on the defense, like we're always, Tempe is only doing it because somebody brought it up properly. That's not true. It's facts that we are updating codes every meeting. And our attorney is going through codes. One of the main ones, he just mentioned the park ordinance. That came up one of the first ordinance that he came up and said it hadn't been updated since 1967. So we need to update it. That's just one of many that we're updating. So I want you guys to understand, just because it looks like, okay, it's affected from this way, it's something that the council and the city's been looking at and realizing that we need to update our codes. That's something that former council members hasn't done. It's now in the current council that's looking at it and saying, wait a minute, we need to bring all of our codes into the century that we're in right now. So if you see that, you see us updated. If you ever look at our meetings, there's always, and like she said, a code text amendment, and that's what that is. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby?
Yes, the city of Tempe should implement code text amendments prohibiting the development of data centers in Tempe. These are not good for our areas. They do not create jobs. They're not sustainable, and we don't need them here in Tempe. One of the other issues with them is that state preemptions prohibit us from placing any taxes on these data centers, which would mean there would be absolutely no benefit to the city of Tempe by putting one in. So I think we should preempt that by preventing it from happening and putting in a code text amendment. I would also say that we should put in a code text amendment that prohibits the placement of these automated charging centers in residential areas. It is not beneficial to our cities or to our neighborhoods to have these places there. It's dangerous to have the traffic increase and them just sitting around, and we don't need that. And we can change that by putting in code text amendments. So yes, and we should do those two specific things.
Bobby, thank you. Let's go on to our next question then. A very direct question, if I could, just in case. Do you accept campaign donations from developers, land use attorneys, or lobbyists? If so, what percentage of your campaign funding comes from these sources? And we'll start with Elvis.
Well, who in here has taken a look at the finance reports from last year that were just posted? No. Well, some people have. I think I came in last, spending about $5,500, which came from my friends and family. The two sitting next to me I think you guys were second to last and third to last as well, although I've become aware the maximum donation that you can get is $650. I think that I've become aware of groups of folks who have interests in our city, which will parade around a lot of people giving $650 each. And that's very concerning to me. No, I do not.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm very grateful for every donation I get. A lot of you in this room have donated to my campaign, and I appreciate it, whether it's $5, $10, $15, whatever it is, I'm grateful. The process is very transparent. In fact, I have my treasurer back there that puts together the campaign reports, and those are all available online. So there's no secrecy. It's all transparent. So if you want to find out about campaign donations, you can. I don't track the percentages of the developers versus non-developers or whatever the case may be. But every donation makes a difference. Thank you very much.
Arlene?
Thank you. The shorter answer is yes, and I also accept donations from retirees, teachers, friends, neighbors, family members, and unions have been supportive of me, and I believe it's reflective of how I approach this role in a very fair and transparent manner.
Arlene, thank you. Joe?
So I want everyone to understand how this works. Most donors don't give to new candidates. Trust me, I've tried. I've asked them. And they tell you, no, we only support the incumbents. And so the fire people, for example, hey, I support you guys. Fire, I love firemen. Sorry, if we give it to you, then if you don't get in, the person we didn't give it to, they might say, oh, let's cut your budget or whatever. I think one of the good examples is the Tempe Chamber of Commerce. So the Tempe Chamber of Commerce, they went for the 3 incumbents, and I'm a business owner, right? I'm actually out there putting business policies in place, and they didn't even go with me because they would rather a sure shot with the incumbents. So just understand that. I do take them, but no one's giving them to me, so, thank you.
Thank you. Burdetta?
Yes. Short answer, yes, I take it. But Joe, they didn't give it to us because we're incumbents. They gave it to us because, we had to go through the same kind of rigorous thing. They have not in the past endorsed incumbents, so it's not always that they do the incumbents. Second on that is $650 is not going to buy my vote. And I'll be honest with you, it is not going to buy my vote. So I can get $6,450 on my governing board, and they didn't buy my vote. So I don't think that I think that developers, unions, personal people, if they invest in you, they invest in you because they see something in you, not because they're trying to buy your vote. Because 90% of the time, we go back sometimes to go and vote against them on the same thing, and that doesn't mean that they didn't invest in us. They know that as council members, that's what they do. So yes, council members do get more because we have a proven record, but we also have to have a proven record. So yes, the answer is yes, I take it from everybody, but I'm going to tell you $650 is not going to buy my vote today, tomorrow, or never. Ever will it ever buy my vote. So yes, I take from everyone who wants to donate. So I do have envelopes in the back if you would like to donate today. I'm telling you, at the same time.
Burdetta, thank you. Bobby?
So no, I do not accept donations from corporate entities. I don't accept donations from private lobbyists. I don't accept donations from land use attorneys or corporate developers. And it's not because I'm worried about my vote being bought. It's about deciding who I am going to focus on when I'm calling people to ask for money. Because the way that this works is you don't just get money out of the blue. You have to let people know you're running. You have to give people a pitch. Even if they know you, they want to know why they should support you. And how you approach those conversations changes the way that you decide on policy in these early stages. So I have focused on connecting with working people in Tempe. I have received donations from unions as well, and I'm incredibly grateful for that support. And that has been incredibly valuable for us as a campaign, because now we're able to go out and become competitive in this space. And again, also very grateful for everybody in this room who has made a donation. It means a lot, and it means that we're going to be able to continue building out this movement for change in Tempe. And I'm going to take a note from what Burdetta just did, and I also have a QR code out by my table where you can make a donation today and support this campaign. In terms of the percentages, though, no, I don't take any. The percentage is absolutely zero. In terms of the percentage of union support that has come in, it is less than 10% of what I have at this time.
Thank you. Brooke?
I've been very intentional about how I fund this campaign because I believe that the way you run is a reflection of how you will serve. I want residents to know that when I'm sitting on that dais, my decisions are grounded in what's best for Tempe, not in who wrote me a check. And I'm incredibly proud of something that has happened organically throughout this campaign. Over 2/3 of my donations have come unsolicited from Tempe community leaders, neighborhood advocates, and politically engaged residents such as yourselves who pay close attention to what's happening in our city. These are people who know the issues, who understand what I'm trying to accomplish with this campaign, and who believe in my ability to do it. And I am genuinely honored by that support. To me, that is not fundraising, that is trust, and I take that seriously. I will be a good steward of both your donations and your faith in me. Every dollar that comes into this campaign is treated with respect, and every decision I make, both now and if I'm elected, will reflect the values of the people who stepped up because they want a council member who listens, who does the homework, and who puts our Tempe residents first. That's the standard that I'm going to hold myself to, and it's the standard that I'll bring to the council. So to answer the percentage question, it's 0.
Thank you. Appreciate the answer from all of you. So next question. Many neighborhoods and parks in Tempe are experiencing deteriorating infrastructure, including uneven sidewalks, crumbling streets with potholes, and collapsing sewer lines. What priority do you believe city management and the city council should place on improving the infrastructure problems? And let's go ahead and start with Jennifer.
Yes, thank you for the question. My first video that I made when I was running the first time was of a pothole in the middle of a street, and I pointed it out and spread the video around, and it was fixed within a week. We were ignoring our streets. Our public works director at the time did not care about our streets or our sidewalks. He didn't care about our infrastructure. So we got way behind the 8 ball on it. And as a result, we've had problems. And every campaign I've run on fixing our streets and our sidewalks. I want people that have physical disabilities to be able to ride on their sidewalks easily. We have the highest amount of physical disabled in the valley because ASU is here and because they could take their wheelchairs on the sidewalks to ASU. So I'm very proud of that. I've been working on this for 7 years. I'm going to continue working on it. It's very important that everyone have safe infrastructure, and we are replacing it now with the voters passed the bond, and I'm really glad that that's happening. Right now it's too cold to do the asphalt, but as soon as it warms up, we'll resume. But our streets are now getting paved, and so I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you. Arlene?
Thank you. What priority? It's a high priority. I'll give you 2 examples where that has been prioritized. The recent bond that we all overwhelmingly passed to repave our streets in Tempe. That became an issue that rose up. And I encourage all of you, when you do receive the resident survey every year, we read it and we pay attention to it. And the city streets constantly rose up as one of the top 3 issues. Thus, the move to get the funding through the bond to pave the streets. So it's a high priority. The second project is, I'll use the Mill Avenue refresh. It has not been refreshed in 40 years. And you all know that if you live in your home or apartment, and if something hasn't been repaired in 40 years, things are falling apart. There were not only potholes, but there were missing bricks and holes on the sidewalks. So that was a prioritized part of that entire refresh project.
Thank you. Joe?
So yes, infrastructure should be a high priority. And I believe it should be a high priority in the budget we already have. The two council members were sharing how we had to get bonds for the streets. Streets should just be paid with the taxes we already have, not take the city credit card and put it on that because we're not prioritizing the streets. And so one of the reasons why I'm running, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and the first concept in business is you have to make more money than you spend. And currently, we are spending more money than we make. And so I would focus on ways that we can generate more revenue so we can do upgrades to our streets, our sidewalks, our lighting. One idea that I proposed was to bring back a college bowl game. Does anyone remember the magnificent block parties that we used to have from the Fiesta Bowl some years back? Well, that disappeared, and so did the tens of millions of dollars into our city. And so I propose, using the infrastructure we already have, the ASU Stadium, to bring a bowl game back and make sure that we are footnoting that additional revenue for neighborhoods, because if they have to put up with the additional traffic and all the things that come with that, I believe they should be able to see the benefits in their community year after year. Thank you.
Thank you. Burdette?
The short answer is yes, we should. That's the reason why we went out for bonds, because as Joe said, we don't have the money, but that's not exactly true. We have to budget. We have to have a full budget. We can't take away from human services. I don't think anybody would want to take away from human services or education to do just one road. So we have to budget. We have to maintain a full budget. So that's why we go out for bonds. We don't get enough from the state or federal to do this. So we have to go out, and we as our community have to put together. On second off, I think that Councilmember Chen said a lot about what we did in the downtown. We're also improving our neighborhoods by improving our schools. And our schools are working with our city to make sure that the schools are upgrading so they don't close. So we can have McClintock High School in the next 10 years, or a Conley or a Curry. So we do have our schools that we work together to build, to make sure that our city is maintaining. But it does come from a full budget. And that's why we thank you when you do support our bonds, because that does help us fix our roads. It helps us fix our parks. Because if you notice, you see all the time, there's a park being fixed all the time. And we have all of them on clock to be worked on and to be fixed. So thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
So I believe our streets, our infrastructure should be safe and accessible for everybody. I think that requires us to invest responsibly in that. And so this would be a very high priority for me. When we have sewer systems that work effectively and efficiently, that saves us money on our utility bills. When we have streets that are well paved and sidewalks that are easily accessible by foot or by bike or by scooter, that saves us money on transportation. My goal in running for council is to reduce the cost of living for people in Tempe, to make this city more affordable for young families. And this may seem like a small way to do that, but it is a way to do that. And I would encourage us to invest in that, and I would support investing in that if elected. I also, while we're on the subject, I think investing through bonds is perfectly responsible, because we have a community that is wanting to invest in the development of our city, is wanting to invest in our streets and in our infrastructure. And so while I do agree that we should expand our investment in this within the budget to the extent that that is possible and responsible, I think that where we need to pass bonds in order to pay for important projects, we should fight to pass those bonds bonds. Where we need to seek grants to pay for important projects, we should seek those grants. And we need to be creative in the way we run and get money in this city, because we are going to be facing a significant budget crunch as a result of the loss of residential rental taxes. I do have a plan to cover these costs that is on my website, and I encourage everyone to check it out. I would say more, but I'm down to probably 1 second.
Thank you, Bobby. Brooke?
This question is a consequence of something that Tempe has avoided talking about for far too long, and that's the fact that we've been underfunding our basic infrastructure for decades. The lifting sidewalks, the pothole-filled streets, the collapsing sewer lines, none of that happened overnight. It's the result of years of deferring maintenance and patching instead of replacing, and balancing budgets by pushing off the unglamorous work that keeps the city functioning. Much of Tempe's core infrastructure was built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and those systems have a lifespan, and we are well past it. Irrigation lines are failing because upgrades were delayed. Sewer mains are collapsing because inspections and replacements were put off. Sidewalks and streets are deteriorating because money kept getting shifted away from long-term capital needs to cover short-term pressures. And every time we delay, that eventual repair gets more and more expensive. So when people ask what priority that the city should place on fixing this, my answer is simple. It's the top priority. Infrastructure is not optional. Tempe residents deserve a city that takes care of the basics, and I am committed to being honest about the scale of the problem and disciplined about getting it fixed so that we're not passing even bigger bills on to the next generation.
Thank you. Elvis?
Well, I don't think anyone up here would say this isn't a priority. I believe that would probably be political suicide, especially here in Tempe. I will say, though, that understanding the degradation of our roads and our utilities over decades is definitely influenced by commercial vehicles in our city, bigger trucks than our single-family sedans or minivans. The utilities upgrades needed to be able to support large density and the roads around it all take a toll. As we grow, our problems grow. I think that this is a circular situation that we've found ourselves in. We thought more people, more money. Well, really it means more problems for the people who work in our city. I believe our city budget's $1.5 billion. These matters and the solutions to these matters come out of a well-oiled machine in the city manager's office who do and direct this work. If this was a Fortune 500 company and we were facing these problems in the face and the budgets that are not on point, there might be a clearing of the house, so to say. And I believe that that's why this question has come to this panel here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for everybody. Let's go on to our next question, and this is going to be another yes or no response.
I
if we
haven't
could.
answered.
Oh, my apologies, Jennifer.
That's okay, no problem. This is an important subject for me. So the green building code, I think, should be mandatory for developers.
We haven't gotten
We're
that.
not there yet.
Oh, we're not.
May I ask a question?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
No
got ahead of
problem, no
myself.
problem. That's all right.
You did, we're good. We're good.
No problem. It's a Saturday afternoon.
It is,
It's not a
sorry.
work day. That's all right. That's all right. Let me go ahead and ask the question so the audience can follow if I could, please.
Okay, yes,
All right,
please.
no problem. So it's a yes or no response on that one, if I could, just a yes or no. Should a green building code be mandatory for developers in the city of Tempe? Arlene, please.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I think we now have some questions. Jan in the back, we have questions? Oh, she did. Thank you very much. Give me some direction here and how you guys ordered them. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just looking for individual questions. These are the priorities from what you saw? Okay. Okay. So if I can, then looking at the time and everything, is we're going to have 2 yes/no questions if we could. And let's see, we went with, I think, Arlene last time, so I think, Joe, we're going to start with you on this one. So it's a yes/no question, is do you support a charter change for districts? Meaning the city would be divided up into districts and the council members would then be overseeing a district?
No.
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 Yes.
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 No.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. And then another yes/no question on there. Do you support term limits, be that 2 terms or 3 terms? And let's start with Burdetta.
Do you want to answer both or just yes and then the?
Yes and the number.
Okay.
Good clarification, thank you.
Yes. Yes, I do, and 3 term limits for council members.
Thank you.
Yes, 2 terms.
Yes, 2 terms.
Yes. 2 terms.
Yes, 3 terms.
Yes on term limits. 3.
Yes, 2.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So let's see, I think I'm going to start with you, Bobby, on this one. And bear with me if you could on this one. Tempe has a strong demand for housing, but frequent neighborhood opposition to new projects. When those conflicts arise, what interests should prevail? And what specific policies would you get support to ensure housing actually gets built?
So those are ongoing struggles. We know from the Shalimar district there is a significant issue around the development of that neighborhood. There's also development going up or being discussed in Donnell Plaza and nearby neighborhood. Members are struggling to make their voices heard in that space as well. I believe in the democratization of our process, which would allow for the local neighborhoods by formalizing our neighborhood groups and associations and ensuring equal representation for homeowners and renters. We would be able to make this process very straightforward. The developer would need to go in early and get as many votes as they could from the neighborhoods by promising and delivering on actual benefits to the communities. So I believe that this should always be focused on what we really need, the material needs of our neighborhoods and our residents. In terms of the specific policies that I'm going to push for, I am a believer in public housing. I have been fighting for public housing programs for the last 5 years, and we have seen around the world that the solution to both housing affordability and housing in terms of building out structures that prevent homelessness is public housing. And I would believe that we should be building out our public housing on public land, especially so that we can offer sub-market rate units to people who are coming into Tempe to work, and also the families that are trying to be built out here to control the costs, bring that cost of living down. And this is just it's a successful practice from around the world, and building out our programs here would make sense for us as well. We don't need a ton to get started, but it would allow us to make a massive change around the culture of development in Tempe. So I believe that we should focus on improving the connections to our neighborhoods and making sure that the consideration is the actual needs of our city, and we should focus on building public housing on our public land.
Thank you. Brooke?
Yes, I think a couple of the policies that I would support in terms of housing in order to avoid the kind of situation that we've seen with Shalimar. First, and I mentioned it earlier, is early and often engagement with our communities and the neighborhoods around any proposed development, so that before anybody wasted time or effort or money on hundreds of thousands of dollars to put together a development plan, that we got our residents' input first, that those needs were heard and understood by the developers, and that any absolute no is listened to. I would support also, in terms of developing housing outside of a situation like Shalimar, the density bonus program that's being promoted right now by the city. I think that we should take a really hard look at that, supporting that as a community. I am concerned that it takes some of the visibility of development projects away from the public So I think that that is something that we still need to iron out before we approve something like density bonus programs. But that will allow the developers, and incentivizing them will allow them to develop in areas where they're already zoned for it and where we are ready to handle that density near high transit. I also am very excited about Tempe's pre-approved plans for ADUs in people's backyards. I support ADUs on large lots, and I think we could expand our pre-approved plans, particularly for seniors wanting to age in place on the property that they've probably owned for decades. And I also have 10 seconds left, so historic preservation is tops on my list as well.
Thank you. Elvis?
Yeah, I live in North Tempe. I believe North Tempe and north of me, north of the river, has taken this on the chin over the last 30 years. And as I said before, the supply alone isn't fixing affordability. I think until City Council can find a way to make sure that the affordability for those units is palpable, we should be very considerate of how we do move forward with new zoning changes. I'm not anti-development. I have a feeling that pretty soon I'll be pigeonholed as anti-development. What I believe that I am is anti-unfairness. And I believe that that's a really important distinguishing difference between me and other candidates on this panel. I do believe that we can put or create ways to put density near public transportation in areas where we're all ready for it to go. But one thing that I know is that folks in South Tempe don't really want middle housing coming to them. And I wonder, how do we keep this city fair for seniors and folks who have built their lives in North Tempe, either near the university or north of the river?
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you for the question. I've worked for 7 years on annexing the county island. That is a very important area that we can build housing in. We already have annexed 17 acres of it on the right side of, it's east of Scottsdale Road, north of 202, where the topless bars are, that's where it starts, right? I'm sure none of you know where they are, but just in case. And that holds, there's another 60 acres in there that can be annexed, and that will be a great place for more housing. It also it can have views of the lake. I mean, it's a beautiful property. So far, we've annexed the 17 acres, and we have 641 apartments there, and they're very nice. So what I want to do is cascade and continue to gobble up the county island, which is, there's a lot of bad things that are going on there, believe me, I've been through it enough. But that's a great way to increase our housing and not affect the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Arlene?
May I ask you to repeat the question?
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Long-winded.
Yeah.
Tempe has a strong demand for housing, but frequent neighborhood opposition to new projects. When those conflicts arise, what interests should prevail, and what specific policies should you support to ensure housing actually gets built?
Thank you. What I caught into, or what I'm focusing on is what interests should prevail. And there are multiple interests that need to be considered in these decisions. And not all projects are alike. And different neighborhoods need and want different things based on projects. And I'll use two examples that represent two neighborhoods in the room, Shalimar and Dorsey Crossing. They wanted two different things or they want two different things, or don't want, as the case may be, on those projects. So public input is what prevails here, resident input, and what the needs are of that area. So a little inside baseball reminder that as things go to the DRC, or the Development Review Commission, which is one of the first steps, right? Actually, sometimes prior to that, the developer will indicate to the city staff, hey, we're going to bring a project forward. We don't have a lot of details yet, but here's an idea and a concept. Okay, they're always encouraged to go get neighborhood input and resident input. With the DRC, when it goes there, do you want me to finish that thought?
Finish your sentence, yes.
Okay. There's allowable input, and when it comes to council, there are 2 reads for public input. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
So I want to touch a little bit on the concept of affordability. Affordability is different from one person to the next. And so I bought my house in 2008 for $215,000. It is currently $550,000. Is that because I'm such a smart investor? No, it's because the money in my pocket is a third of what it was in 2008. And so we could build 10-story buildings on every corner of Tempe, and it's still not going to be affordable, right? So what I would like to focus on is finding housing that people can afford. And so what I would prioritize is building condos instead of luxury apartments, because it is more affordable to buy a $200,000 or $300,000 condo than it is a $500,000, $600,000, or $700,000 single-family home. And so I believe that we should, as far as where, the policy is in place, we all supported the General Plan 2050, and I think we should stick with that as far as the density allowed. But I want to just make sure that we can make more opportunities for folks to put deep roots in the community, such as I have and my fellow council members. Thank you.
Thank you. Burdette?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. As we all know, Tempe is landlocked. We can all agree on that. Tempe is definitely landlocked. There is no such thing as one type of housing that we need in the city of Tempe. We need all types of housing. We need affordable. We need workforce. We need luxury, because people do want luxury homes. You can't say that people don't want luxury, because people have worked long enough. If they want a luxury home, they've earned it. One thing I will say is that that has been said on this panel that is not true, is that we as council do not hear our neighbors, or we don't speak to our neighbors. How many of us can say that we have actually, not only have we spoken to you guys, we have communications. And when there is something that you don't like, you have open to come talk to us. You have to literally, you can call one of us on the phone and say, hey, this is what I don't like, and express it to us, and we come and talk to you. So I don't want people to get this feeling that, oh, the council is so closed off, they don't hear what's going on. Shalimar, you guys are in the room. Have you guys heard from us, and we've heard from you guys? Thank you, because you have heard from us. We know how you feel. We understand how you feel, and that's just one area. We hear it. When Phil Elmorosi has something that he doesn't like, we hear it. So I just want to make sure to understand that Tempe, as a council, we hear you. So thank you. Huh?
Thank you. Appreciate that. As we kind of watching the clock, and as we're kind of running out of time in there, what I'd like to now do is we wrapped up the questions, and if I can, invite the candidates to provide their 1-minute closing on that one. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with you, Brooke.
Sure. Tempe is at a crossroads. We can keep reacting to crises after they've already become expensive and painful, or we can choose leadership that invests early, tells the truth, and puts residents first. Tempe deserves transparency, accountability, and a council that works for the community, not insiders. I am honored to be endorsed by former Mayor Harry Mitchell, whose leadership was rooted in integrity and respect for every generation of Tempe residents. And that is the standard that I will bring to council. Proactive problem solving, community first decision making, and a commitment to building a Tempe that is safe, sustainable, and worthy of the people who call it home. You can find me at brookfortempe.com. I also have donation envelopes and a QR code outside.
Thank you. Elvis?
I respect the work that the incumbents have done here in Tempe, but I think it's time that there's new voices on city council. I don't have money, but what I do have is honesty. Some say that my inexperience is why I shouldn't be voted for, but my constituents, my neighbors, and my family believe that's exactly why I should be here speaking out. And one thing I can tell you is that I'm not running to win a popularity contest. You're going to know where I stand on things, and you'll probably see me falter. But one thing is absolutely true. I'm here to make sure that Tempe works for us. The folks who have lived here and created all of the special parts that this city should feel proud of. I believe that's the fight. I'm not going anywhere. I won't be backing down. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here in 2028. And I'll most likely be waging a $6,000 war again to have my voice heard on this panel. That being said, you'll also know where I stand on national policies and topics. And one thing that I will say is that I have learned a lot from these two candidates sitting right next door to me, and I value that they showed up as well to join this fight for Tempe.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes. First of all, I'm running a positive campaign, despite several of you that are trying to run a negative campaign against me. That's not how I roll. I roll positive campaigns. I know who you are, and I just want to go over a few of my accomplishments. Annexed the county island. I'm president of Valley Metro Board of Directors. I know transportation well. I built or led the effort for Kiwanis Park, dog park. Dog parks are very important to me. The park ranger program, I brought that back. The trap, neuter, and release program, I led that effort. I led Trees for Tempe. Actually, was my program. So that was 2 years ago before we had the huge storm. So I supported Operation Slowdown because we had a drag racing problem that was killing people. I led the effort to build Clark Park Recreational Center, which if you guys haven't been there, it's beautiful and people are learning how to swim now instead of drowning. And I've worked tirelessly on pavement improvements. I've been endorsed by Greg Stanton and Attorney Chris Mays, to just name a few. Thank you very much. And please vote for me for council.
Thank you. Arlene?
Thank you. A general thank you to all of you for spending time getting to know us today. There may have been other things you wanted to do instead, laundry, shopping, instead of being here. So we appreciate it. I, as a 50-year resident, volunteer, and leader in the community, I have a learned and lived set of experience that I want to apply to our community. And I hope to earn your support, and I thank you for being active and engaged.
Thank you. Joe?
There's a quote I really love from Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people." And I'm an individual who talks about ideas. I've been sharing a number of ideas all throughout this afternoon. But not only sharing ideas, I'm also someone that gets stuff done, and my track record in the city shows that. But I'd like to give you guys 3 reasons why you should vote for me. One is that I'm a business owner, so I know the type of policies that's going to move our economy ahead. 2, I'm very involved in this community, and I'm a member of many of the premier organizations that are doing great work. And finally, I'm a U.S. veteran, and I care deeply about our country, and I would be honored to serve you guys. So please check me out, fortefortempe.com, and I'll be here till the last person is here right outside. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Burdette?
Hi. Everybody said thank you, but I thank you guys for being here, and I'm just going to put another plug in. I do still have my coat outside, so if you guys want to, register. I have been a part of, I've lived my whole life in Tempe. I will tell you this. I agree. I know that I'm going to have votes that you're not going to agree with. But I make this promise to you. I promise you that if you come to me, I'll explain my vote. We'll talk about it. We'll go on. I'm never going to deny that. I'm a person who's out there. I have a breakfast with Burdetta every month. You have any chance to meet me. You don't have to see me on the dais. You can meet me in the community. You know what I'm doing. And the second part of it is I bring something to the council that no one has, the education community. I believe that I'm building the future generation that was going to take over Tempe, and I want to continue that work while I do that. So I thank you guys. I hope to receive your votes. And if I don't receive your votes, I still will work for you. And I just want to thank you for that. Have a great day.
Bobby?
I'll also say thank you all for being here today. It means a lot to be in this space with all of you and know that Tempe has such a strong culture of civic engagement. I find that very encouraging. When state and federal governments fail to protect and provide for their people, the responsibility falls to our local city governments, and that is why I am running today. We need to address our housing costs in Tempe. We need to bring the cost of living down for Tempe residents, to bring young families back into this city, and I have a plan to do that. I have the policy-making experience, I have the legal experience, and I am able to build out these programs and develop the political coalitions necessary to see them done. I ask for your vote because we can have a better world and we deserve it. We just need to stand together and fight for what is right and what works for workers. I also have a QR code outside where you can donate. But if you don't want to donate, I will also be out knocking doors tonight to talk to Tempe residents. You can meet me at Brick Road Coffee at 5 p.m. or go to my website, bobbyfortempe.com. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to thank all the candidates. Thank you very, very much for the information you shared. It's greatly appreciated. I'd like to also thank all of the neighborhood presidents for bringing this together. Hopefully, you, the audience, the voters, you've learned more information for that one. So for that, thank you all for attending. For that one, thank you for caring for your hometown. Thank you for running for City Council. We appreciate it. And if I could just have one last piece of housekeeping, we do have to return this room to what it was by 3:30. So I know you want to talk to a lot of people, and that's fine. If I could just ask you to do it outside of this room for that. And with that, thank you very much, and thank all of you.